Hey everybody, thanks for joining. I'm Michael, and we're going to compose together. I love how that Suikoden cover turned out for the original game. I'm really proud of it, and you'll have to excuse me for tooting my own horn with that a little bit, but I think I did a good job. But also, I'm allowed to toot my own horn this month because it's Pride Month. Happy Pride, everybody. And yeah, I know that's not specifically what pride means, but I'm the other definition of pride as well. So, yeah, happy Pride, especially to all of my fellow LGBTQIA plus people. I personally am a fan of just saying queer, but if you are something other, if you prefer something other, know that I love you and I see you and I appreciate you as well. Happy Pride to you. Yeah, so since now is the beginning of Pride, I have a tradition of only listening to music by queer artists in all of June. So, yeah, I've got a long playlist already, but if you have any other favorite queer artists, let me know. I'd love to listen to them, see if I like them too. All right, so today we're going to work on an original piece of music. This is the sixth of my 12 original pieces inspired by video game characters. Today's character is Gremio from Suikoden. So, wrong button. Let's try this button. No, that's also not what I want. This is what no. Gosh, I'm so bad at this. This is what I want. Here we go. Okay. So this is Gremio, and he is a sweetheart. He is one of my favorite video game characters of all time. He is the main character's protector, bodyguard, I guess, servant, but he also fills sort of like a big brother role, and like maybe it's also slightly sexual or loving or romantic in some way. At least it seems that way to me. Maybe you don't read it that way, but that's how I read it. What else? All right, so let's just get started with this process of composing something inspired by Gremio. Oh, that's the other part that I wanted to talk about. So when I compose something that's for this new character composition series, my intention is not for it to sound like video game music. Like, if it does sound like video game music, that's cool, but that's not really my main goal. It's just to write new music in any style. But since I am a classically trained composer, a lot of this stuff ends up sounding kind of classical, especially with this specific composition process that I have. This is not my only composition process, but this is one of the ones that I occasionally use. So, a lot of this stuff ends up sounding classical and not like video game music. So if you come here looking for video game music, you might not get it. But let's start talking about Gremio. So first off, look at this character art for him. His art has changed a little bit in various things. I don't know if this middle one here is original art from the game or if it's fan art. But if it's fan art, I really love it. This here on the left, just his portrait, is, I believe, the newly remade character portrait art by the original artist that was made for the remaster that came out recently. It's basically the same thing, just it looks a little cleaner and nicer than it does actually in the game, in the original game. But in the remaster, I'm pretty sure it looks like this. And I believe this is also official character art, even though it's a little rougher around the edges. But I think you can kind of tell... No, unclick. Oh, no. Let's do this. I think you can kind of tell, just even from looking at him, that he's a sensitive person. He's soft. He is in touch with his emotions. So as part of this process, I start by just writing about his personality. So sensitive, not sensiting. Sensitive, soft, sweet. And even beyond personality, some other characteristics. He's caring. He is... What's the word? Honor bound. If anyone else has any other ideas as I'm doing this, let me know. He's a good cook, But that sort of, to me, fits in with being caring. And he is willing to sacrifice himself for what he feels is important. Okay, sorry I have the loudest chair in history. I keep on meaning to get a new one because it's not really that comfortable either. Like, I could try and grease it, but it's just not a good chair. Hmm. Is there anything else I want to say about Gremio? Oh, he can be a little prudish. And he's got a sense of decorum, which sort of ties in with his prudishness to make his big brothery in a restrictive way sometimes. Like, he doesn't want the young master to be exposed to too much that he doesn't think he should be. But I'm gonna include big brothery, and I'm not gonna specifically write down that I read the character as kind of romantic, but just know that I do. As the second part of this process, I draw a tarot card. And I do not personally believe in tarot as divination. I personally really like to use tarot as a source of introspection. So, what are these images portraying, and what do they make me think about what's going on? Either with myself or with anything that I want to think about. But certainly with tarot and introspection, personally, I like it more for just exploring my inner self. Like, it's a little bit of a Rorschach thing going on. So I'm going to draw a tarot card at random, and I'm not going to use any of the ones that I've already drawn for other characters in this series. And this tarot card is going to suggest a situation for Gremio to be in. I initially intended all of these to be at some point after the events of the game that the character initially appears in. But with the last one, with Celeste, who's the last one, I also entertained the idea of perhaps before the game starts. I still ended up going with after, but let's see what I draw for Gremio. Okay, the card is interesting. The Princess of Wands. So if anyone is familiar with the traditional tarot deck, especially like the Rider-Waite deck, which is the most common deck, there is no card called Princess in that deck. Instead, that would be Page. But in my deck, Page is replaced with Princess, and Knight is replaced with Prince. So this is what I see in the card and what I know about it. So the fire suit is passion and action. What else? She is holding two, like, staves. We can't see the bottom of one, but the top has, I think, that's Scorpio. I don't know my zodiac stuff very well, but I'm gonna look at what these all are. So I think I'm gonna guess what these are. Scorpio. I'm pretty sure the other one at the top has Pisces, and at the bottom, that's Virgo, I think. I have no idea what that means, but I'll look that up. Okay, so specifically what I see in her, she has a crown of flames and she's standing near lit wands, and she has one breast out. Having a breast out, especially, but the others as well, kind of suggests to me she's liberated, comfortable with herself. And I'm just going to come out and say it, not a prude, which is kind of what Gremio is. So I wonder if this is sort of a more liberated Gremio. Now I'm going to look up, let's see here, what the card is supposed to mean. Okay. Princess of Wands. Let me find her. A vibrant princess stands on a circle of flaming wands, meaning adventure, excitement, optimism for the future. Adventure, excitement, optimism for the future. Okay. So the prescribed meaning of the card is a little bit more a little bit more general and specifically less interesting to me than what I myself am seeing in the card, even if that is not a real traditional reading. So now I have the task of combining Gremio's personality and what I'm getting from the Princess of Wands. So I want to think of, this is 11. I want to think of what this means for Gremio's personality and what sort of situation Gremio might be in. So I really like the idea of a liberated Gremio, and I don't personally see him starting like this and then becoming more conservative and prudish before the time of the first game. But I'm thinking this is sometime after the game. And also it's going to be after the events of Suikoden 2, because both the hero and Gremio appear in Suikoden 2. So the hero, whose name is Tur, and Gremio have been traveling and adventuring for some time and have now settled down. Gremio no longer thinks of himself as Tyr's servant, but instead an equal. That's sort of where I want to go with this. If anyone watching live or watching the VOD has any thoughts on this, let me know. I would love to see how these ideas kind of how they make your brain's cogs turn. If I see this before I finish the composition at some point by the end of this week, maybe your idea will influence what I'm doing here. Okay, now hold on for just a moment while I switch my mic setup around because I'm switching to a different process. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Let me just double check and make sure that you can still hear me. Yep, we're good. I'm always stressed about this when I switch this around, whether it's still working. All right, so next step is to create a melody or theme to use in this composition. There are a lot of ways we could do this, but I discovered while working on the very first one of these that trying to compose a melody whole cloth out of nothing on stream is very difficult. So I decided to use this process that I developed at some point in the past and have used for several compositions. And it's a little intimidating looking. But what we've got here is similar to a matrix used in dodecaphonic composition, if anyone who has taken music theory 4 is familiar with that. But I've sort of blown this idea up a little bit more, and it is not necessarily atonal, but it sort of results in a few atonal ideas here and there. So, this pale yellow highlighted section is the main melody that I'm going to be using, which comes from Suikoden 1. This is the main Suikoden theme. Oh, hold on. I hate that sound for this. Let me switch that around. For now, let's go to... No, not that. Let's go to... Vintage keys, vintage electric piano, and classic electric piano. Yeah, okay. So this theme written here, I'll follow along with it. Trying to do it in time, but here it is again. So that's only a short snippet of this theme. In previous ones, I've used much more and realized that it takes way too long to go through all of this, both in preparation and in picking themes. Now, what I did in between these pitches, this U5 is there because it is 5 half steps up. You go up 5 half steps from E to get to A. Then D3, down 3 half steps to get to F sharp. So I did that. And then this +1, this is where my idea comes in, but it's based on Roy Harris and William Schumann ideas of autogenetic composition, where the theme is constantly being developed as it's even being played. So this is sort of a tangent from that idea, where in the initial theme, it goes up 5 half steps. But what if I go up 6 instead? And what if going down 3 turns into down 4 instead? So it's going to expand from here. So this is what this sounds like. Oops. Now that one's kind of ugly, so I'm not going to use that. But the idea from this is that I'm going to take one of these, or even just a portion of one of these. I might not use the whole thing. If there's anything that sounds interesting to me, I'll use it. I don't particularly like that one, so I'm going to not use that one. But we also have the option to go to these, oops, not that, to these minus ones. So where it was 5 half steps up, now it's going to be 4. So this will be closer together. What does this sound like? I think I might like this one. Interesting that it ends on that F natural. That's a little basic, actually. I'm not sure I love that. So let's say that if it's green, I really like it. If it's blue, I kind of like it. So let's put light blue highlight on that. Let's try n plus 2. So this is the normal order plus 2. I liked it until we got to these 6s. So anything that is 6 half steps away from an initial pitch, any interval that is 6 semitones apart, that's a tritone. It's going to sound kind of nasty. You can change the context to make that tritone sound not nasty. This one, I don't think will work. Let's move on to n plus 3. But since this one starts with so many, this one has so many leaps in the melody, these increasing the size is going to make it pretty big pretty fast. Okay, let's listen to this one. Don't love that either. One more. Let's go n plus 4. Normally I go up to 5, and I don't like anything bigger than 5. So, but since this one has so many leaps, let's just go up to 4 and see how that sounds like. I don't hate it. I kind of don't love the end. For now, I'll give this a light blue. And we won't do anything above that for this one, because the leaps are getting to be a bit much. So let's check out this minus 2 now. I like that, but it sounds very minor key, which may be something interesting to play with. But I don't know. I want this to be happy because I want Gremio to be happy so much. I care about this character. Let's move on to the next spreadsheet. So before I go, actually, take note of these first 2 intervals. We've got up 5 followed by down 3. In the inverse, we start with down 5 and then up 3. So when we take an inverse of a melody, the same number of half steps that we initially went down, we're going up, and vice versa. So this inverse is going to follow the same contour, just reversed. It's like a mirror. Not backwards, but upside down. So let's start with this. What was the last one that I liked here? It was minus 2. So let's start with inverse minus 2. That's actually quite pretty. This is giving an A major sound to me. I'm going to put this one in green because I like it more. That did not work for the highlight. There we go. Let's try I minus 1. That one also is pretty nice. That D sharp at the end is throwing it off a little bit, but this one feels very C major, which is part of why I might want to avoid it, but I still like it. Let's listen to just the natural I, because since this is not the original melody, it's upside down, I might like it. Very E minor-y. I'm going to make that one blue. I don't hate it. It might be too sad. Okay. I plus 1. Nah, too dissonant for this. I plus 2. Oops. I think I might not like the pluses in this round. I might stick to just -1 and -2 for each of these to consider. Let's stop with the pluses here and move on to retrograde. So this one is the R0, the main position, home position theme is the normal theme backwards. So the last of these are E, F sharp, A, C sharp. So in the retrograde, we start with E, F sharp, A, C sharp. So this is mirrored the other way. This is mirrored horizontally. It's backwards instead of upside down. So let's hear what this retrograde sounds like. It sounds a little too close to the original for my taste. Let's check up 1 and 2. Ending on a tritone, that's a little nasty. Okay, let's go retrograde plus 2. Not loving the ups still. Need to take a sip. I'm thirsty. Okay, now let's look at these minuses. Retrograde -1. I like that. That's interesting. So, if I were going to rewrite this, I might change these D sharps to E flats, which would give this whole thing sort of an E flat feeling. But we start with this E natural. That's nice. I have to be a little careful of the end of this one if I use it, because it sounds a little like... So I might not want to stick with this one, but I still kind of like it. I think it's interesting. So I'm going to highlight that green. Let's try R-2. Oh, and if anyone has any questions about what's going on, please let me know. I'm happy to talk through this stuff again if you missed it, or answer any follow-up questions that you might have. Okay. R-2, retrograde -2. That one's actually kind of sweet. This one feels very C majory to me. So I'm going to highly consider that one. Okay, so these other ones... Well, okay, I'll come back and listen to all the green ones again. I think I'm going to drop all the blue ones. But that's as far as I'm going to go in the minus. So let's just go to the very last one, retrograde inverse. So the way this works, I took this theme, which is a retrograde backwards of the initial theme, and then I made it inverse, upside down. So where this one starts with E going up 2 half steps, it'll start with E going down 2 half steps. So here that, oh, interesting. I see what I did. Okay, hold on, let me check something real quick. Okay, so there is a difference whether you retrograde first or inverse first. This one, I actually took the inverse and made that retrograde, which is something that I considered a little bit while working on this, but while preparing this sheet, but I wonder, that's something for me to consider another time. Gosh, I'm thirsty. Hold on just a second, more water. All right, so this is, let's say that this is not retrograde inverse and this is inverse retrograde. Well, okay, whatever it is. It was the inverse first and then the retrograde. So here's what this sounds like. Oh, this is just the main theme. Okay, so I messed that up. This whole sheet is not in great shape. I should have done retrograde first and then inverse to make this make sense. So it takes like half an hour to make one of these sheets. So I'm not going to do another one. We're just going to ignore this sheet. Note to self, from now on, I need to... Oh, I see what I did. I just inversed the inverse. I was tired when I was working on this, I think. Okay, let's go through and listen to all these green themes again to see which one I like the best. There were no green in the blue order. There are 2 green in the inverse order. So let's hear these. So this is I-1. It's got kind of an interesting ending with that D sharp, but otherwise this is a very simple C majory sounding theme that I could potentially use. Here's I-2. I like that more. So I'm going to take this I-1 and turn it blue, which means I like it, but not as much. So far, I-2 is the winner. If anyone has any other thoughts as I'm going along with this, please let me know in the chat. I'm happy to consider your options here. Okay. Now let's take a look at the 2 retrograde ones that I liked. It was R-1. I think I still prefer this I-2. Let's listen to R minus 2. That one's really pretty, I think. Okay, this one's getting turned blue. I'm now deciding between R minus 2 and I minus 2. Let's hear these again. Let's start with R minus 2 one more time. I could use both potentially. I've used more than one theme in one of these compositions before, but let's listen. And I kind of want to add one more E at the end of this, which I can do. I can change any pitches in this if I really don't like them. So what's next? Go Gadget Long Hands. That's very simple, but I think it's very sweet. Okay, let's listen to this inverse now. Okay. Let me improvise some harmony for this one. This is A major. And I would want to end this with this C sharp. I might use both. Because they're both really sweet. But that would be me switching between A major and C major, which is okay. That works. Okay, so I'm now thinking of something that has two themes. I'm not going to do another sonata form. That was way too much work. But two themes, so I could do like a simple binary. So a part A and a part B that we maybe repeat part A and then do part B. So let's actually go back to this page. Take a look at what we wanted this to sound like. It's a liberated Gremio, which I read as being more openly sexual, which maybe if you don't, I understand. But I could see that being the case. This is sometime after the events of the first Suikoden game and after the events of the second Suikoden game. Tyr and Gremio have been traveling and adventuring for some time and have now settled down. Gremio no longer thinks of himself as Tyr's servant, but instead an equal. So I'm going to keep that in mind while I listen to these two themes again. I think I still am going to use both of them, but this is going to help me decide the order that I use them. That is so simple, but I think it's quite pretty. And then this one. What order might they go in? I think this inverse is number 2 and the retrograde is number 1. So I'm going to write these down on paper real quick. So this will be less interesting for you for a second. So let's see how quickly I can get this done. Okay, so we're starting with mi, mi, fa, sol, 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 fa, re, fa, mi, fa, re, mi. Okay, there is R minus 2. And after that, at some point, will come I minus 2, which is in a different key, A major. But this is so, so, mi, fa, mi. Okay. So, mi, fa, mi. So, mi. I'm hearing this as a half note. Re. Re, re, mi, fa, fa, mi as half notes. Very simple, but that suits my composition style, so that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to start by just kind of riffing on this R minus 2 for a bit. Again, if anyone has any questions while watching or in the VOD, let me know. If anyone has any suggestions, I'm open to them. Please let me know. Okay, turning to my keyboard. I like this idea that I'd started with. I'm just going to start writing that out, actually. So, you get to watch me struggle with this again. I'm going to start with just looking at it like this, with these two. Do I want to do it like this? Sorry, I'm thinking out loud for a second. Yeah, I'll just do it like this. Okay. There's the melody. And now I want to add a voice, and I do that like this. Oh, actually, let's ignore that for a second. Add a voice down here. Do some bass. Oops. Bass line. Now to add an alto line. Gotta add it again. Okay. Nope. Switch between voices. Why aren't you doing what I want you to do? Okay, undo. I hate this program. There we go. Okay, now for a tenor line. I think the tenor might stick to whole notes. Okay, so this sounds like. There's a bit of a no-no in my part writing here. I've got parallel octaves from the last beat of measure 3 to the first beat of measure 4 between the alto and the bass. So do I want to change that? Do I care that it's, quote, wrong? Yeah, I think I do want to change that. So let's switch voices. Oh. Yeah. Delete this one. Switch it to that. Okay, so now we've got this, again, very simple melody, but I think it's quite pretty. But now I want to make that go somewhere and do something else. What do I want to do with it? I'm hearing a different instrument coming in. For now, let's just put in another keyboard. It'll likely switch to a different instrument at some point. But I'm hearing it here. Oops. Nope. Sort of a counter melody coming in, keeping this thing going, but this new melody is. Got a little secret for y'all. A lot of the music I write is either pretty or creepy. This one is solidly in the pretty category. I had a composer friend who really hated when his music was called pretty. He's like, beautiful's fine, but I hate pretty. Pretty just sounds too pedestrian. But I don't know. I don't have a problem with pretty. I think pretty's all right. Okay. Let's develop a new bass line. I'll still write it on this staff. But what do I want that to be? That's very simple and very kind of expected, but I think that's okay in this case. So I'm just gonna put that in. It's just fa sol do, fa sol do. But then I can move on to some, I don't know, more colorful stuff. Like, I don't want this to be too colorful, really. Even though Gremio is liberated, I don't think he's going to stray that far. Like, he's not throwing a wild party or anything like that. He's just more free to be himself. So, now what I want to do is write something for the main melody that is similar to what I wrote in these first 4 bars, but matches this new bass line. So mi fa sol fa re. Mi fa sol fa re fa mi fa sol la mi fa sol la Yeah, that might be something good. I'll just start with that, see if I like it. See what I think about that. This repeated G in these two voices might be annoying. We'll see. All right. Let's add the harmony for that. So that could be something like... Very simple. And here that could be... Let me think. Okay, now the trick is, can I get this to play? I often have trouble with that. Let me see. Let's go to play, unmute it, right. And will it play through the right source? It will not play through the right source. Great. All right, well, you're not going to be able to hear this, but I want to hear this for myself. Oh, come on. Oh, you're still highlighted, that's why. I think that's sweet. There's a little bit of dissonance here between this A and this G, but I think it works. It also needs to be slower than this. So let me figure out the tempo now. Because I'm hearing this as warm and sweet. So maybe it's ba 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 da 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 bum 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 bum. It's like 60 is often a little slow for me. Let's create 62 and see what that feels like, and we will put it here. Let's listen again. Might be a hair too slow. Let's bump that to 68. See what that sounds like. I think that's really, really sweet. I kind of want to continue that. I want to start to suggest that I'm getting to A major, but I don't want to go directly there. Sweet things are a little sweeter if they've got a little salt in them. Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna riff on that, see if I like it. Okay, yeah. No. Oops. Okay, what can I do with harmony here? If anyone's unsure of what I'm doing, what my thought process is, I'm happy to chat about it. Let me know. Let's go. Oops. How are you in two at the same time? Undo that. Okay. Then back here on top in the soprano, we can have more mostly quarter note moving stuff. That might be nice. Okay, keeping with the pattern, let's have an alto line that moves at about the same rate. Oops. We'll try that. Now to the tenor. Long lines to match the bass. Normally you don't want to double the leading tone, this B. In this case, I'm going to let it go. All right, let's hear the whole thing. You won't be able to hear this very well because I cannot get this to go through my audio interface very easily. So this is just coming from my laptop speakers. I'm going to crank it. That's part of the problem. Okay, hold on just a second. All right, here we go. All right, that's really cheesy, but I think it'll work. Then what would happen is this A section would repeat, and then we would have a different B section that's based on this other theme we looked at. So I'm going to make a lower melody now. That's going to work in tandem with this counter melody. Part of this is because we don't have a C in this chord, and I really want one. So there's that. Oh, hold on. Am I not? Oh, there it is. Okay. So. Hmm. Then that can repeat. All right, let's add a repeat sign. And hear this from the top. I just realized something. I'm very dumb. Sorry. If I'm playing this back and turn off my microphone, then you can't hear it because it's going through the microphone. All right, let's try this again. I'll just be very quiet while it goes. Never mind. The slightest squeak of my chair made this nasty. Okay, let me look one more time. I always struggle to find this, but I'm going to see if I can find it. Where is... No, not in system settings. Dorico. Preferences. How do I make this play through my audio interface? There's the input. Audio device setup. We'll see what advanced. Okay, not advanced. Audio device setup. Output. Why is that not showing up there? Okay, what if I change this? Does that change anything? No, it doesn't. Driver. No, device control panel. Output. I want to change this. If anyone knows Dorico, please put me out of my misery. I need to know how to... What if I do that? Undo those. No, I can't. I gotta have something. All right. Put that back on because I don't know what it does. All right, I'm giving up. No idea how to make this program play through my audio interface so that it'll go through on the stream and not my microphone. But so I can listen to it, I'm going to have to mute my microphone and listen to it. So sorry to leave you stranded for a second, folks. Okay, so this all works other than this pitch. I don't like this one. So this is going to become that. Now what we can do is I can record this into Logic, and you will be able to hear what I'm doing there. So let me pull up Logic. Do this. I always start by just recording with a keyboard sound so that I'm focusing on the pitches more than I am on how the composition works, which is a little bit backwards from how I work normally as a composer, because I normally work with acoustic instruments and I know what each instrument sounds like. So I go from the sounds they can make and write music specifically for them in that way. It's a little bit backwards for me. But now we get the fun part of y'all listening to me record. Luckily, this is slow and simple, so I will be able to hopefully record this with little to no problem. So let's call this instrument for now choir soprano. I'm sort of envisioning these 4 voices here as a choir, and these voices down here as soloists. Though they will not be voices when I'm done, just for now. That's just how I'm envisioning this. Okay, I always give myself 2 bars of intro. Okay, there's that. I will now duplicate this voice to be choir alto and record that line. Oops. Messed up. That can start right here. Okay, alto's done. Now let's do tenor. Coincidentally, this is in a very easily singable range. The bass goes a little low than some choirs would like, though an adult choir can sing that bass line. This tenor line's real boring, though. Sorry, tenors. Okay, last part, doing this again with the bass. Again, if anyone has any questions about what's going on while I'm doing this, please feel free to put them in the chat. For anyone who has any suggestions, as long as they are worded in a friendly way, I will be happy to entertain them. Here we go. Art. Thanks for the comment, CDBD100. Your random thought is art, particularly at least for me, can take on new and different beauty and meaning in new and developing contexts. Yeah, I think that we can always reinterpret things depending on where we are, either physically or mentally, or who we're with. Like old songs and old operas might mean more to their audience well after they release. Oh yes, absolutely, that's the case. Though any songwriter or composer is likely going to be writing for an audience they know right now, and that audience is usually likely mostly themselves. That doesn't mean that there won't be another audience later on that will connect in a new and interesting and different way that makes it mean something more. So yeah, I like that thought. Thanks for that. All right, let's record this bass line with my squeaky chair and my loud upstairs neighbors. Thank you for the compliment. I'm glad you enjoy listening to me create CDBD. I know who you are, but I'm just calling you that because that's what your name is on the chat. Okay, let's get in these other voices. We will call this soprano solo, and the other one we'll call tenor solo. Even though it's not in a very interesting tenor solo range, but whatever. Then I will go in and find other instruments to replace these later. One, two, three, four. There's our soprano solo, same thing with a tenor solo. It's really more of a baritone range, but we'll call it tenor solo. Although I'm a baritone, so never mind, I'm going to call it a baritone solo. Okay. Recording the baritone line. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Okay, I want something for the baritone solo to be in measure 8 here. It's feeling a little barren, so I'm gonna listen and, well, okay, let's look first and then we'll listen and see if what I write works. Getting to the point that I should start moving away from the score and start looking more at just what it's sounding like and improvising a little bit more, which is always scary for me. So we've got the soprano going over what is a C major chord. Will this work? Hold on. No, that's bad. No. So just mi re do re do. That's what the baritone's gonna do here. There we go. Turn that off so I don't mess things up. Go back to looking like this, and that, and that. Just get these two notes in. There. Okay, let's listen to everything that we've got so far. All right. That's a good start. That repeats. That is our A section. So now we've got a contrasting B section. Which has a new melody. So for this, I want to keep the same sound that I'm going to use for the soprano solo and the same sound that I'm going to use for the baritone solo and turn them instead into the soprano and tenor lines of this new accompaniment and have the voices the instruments that I use for the A section as the accompaniment become the new melody. So I'm thinking of like two different like sound worlds that are one supports two and then two supports one. So I'm going to start, hold on, let me think. G7. This will work. Okay. Going here. Go on. There. Second theme. Oh, I gotta change the key first. Okay, here we go again. Okay. Choir 2 is going to be sitting a little bit lower. Because of the way this line is leading, the baritone solo, which is now I'm going to call tenor, has to end up on an E. So for this one, I'm going to make the tenor line the one that's the interesting counter melody. But for that purpose, I want to do the bass line first. Oh, no, that's not what I want. That's what I want. So, mi, fa, mi. A. No. Okay. Now the tenor line, which I want to be the counter melody, the more interesting moving part, and then the alto and choir two will be the less interesting part. Okay, idea to separate this. No, not that. Fa, do, mi, fa. Re and fa. That means this is a 2 chord. Ooh, don't like that though. Okay. Okay, there's that. New alto line, just going to be boring and not move much. Why? No. There we go. Okay. Again, any questions or thoughts from anybody? Happy to answer them. What am I going to do? I'm going to do... It's a little close in the voices here, but I think it'll be good. Unless I want to make this more crunchy. That could be good. I'm going to do that. They'll share. Oh, I messed up. This down here, and this voice cannot be that. It needs to be that. Oops. And then this. Okay, let me try to play this. that's pretty. Yeah, okay. I am starting to run out of steam. So I think I might just put this into the software and put it into Logic. Call it a night, maybe. Let's see. Let's see how I'm feeling when I'm done with this. You boys flagging. Let's call this mezzo solo, baritone solo. Let's change this actually to tenor solo now. And then let's add bass solo. All right. Starting here in this bar with the soprano solo, got our new line here. Oh, you know what? Can't do that yet because I need to repeat this first. So let me fix that. These are all going to be cut off here. Oops. So that I can do this. Copy, paste. Then the new part will start here with the soprano solo. One more time. Same spot, mezzo solo. Okay. Next voice, tenor solo. I don't know if I like that. I might change that. We'll see. Last one. There's something that needs to change here. This alto note needs to be a C. So I'll change that here. Okay. Now let's listen to the whole thing that I've got so far. Make this full screen so we're not distracted. That's really sweet. It's not the most exciting thing I've written, but maybe I can spruce it up later. I'm going to quantize it. I don't normally like to quantize things, but for now, it makes it sound a little less human because there are fewer mistakes. Let's listen to the quantized version now. Okay. I am happy with that. I think before I compose anymore, I'm going to pick new instruments for these so they're not all this keyboard sound. But I don't think I have that kind of brain power in me. And there is a leftover cookie waiting for me that I'm going to eat. So I think I'm just going to call it here for today. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Again, happy Pride. I hope that you, all of my LGBTQIA plus siblings, are finding what peace you can in this scary world. And remember that the first Pride was a riot. So, yeah, if we don't get what we need to survive, we need to demand it. And let's stick up for each other and use our combined strength to stick up for other people too. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. Oh, yeah, what's coming up? Since this is Pride Month, our yearly Pride video is being released tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, so look forward to that. Me, Ramin, and my partner Christopher all chat about... I'll leave it as a little bit of a surprise for what the actual video is, but I hope y'all enjoy it when we get to that. Other than that, coming up, I am very near the end of Suikoden 2, so I'll be working on that review sometime soon. I might also do a music video with Molly on that, having her listen to the music of that game and hearing what she has to say about it. But other than that, a week from tomorrow, this new composition will be released. So I've got a little less than a week to finish it. No pressure, me. After that, I have a couple recorded videos with some people to put on the channel that I'll have to edit before that. But we are moving into an album review soon after that. Then we got reviews of all of the games on Nintendo Switch Online that were originally published in 1993, coming soon after that. I've done a couple streams on those, so if you're curious about what all of those games are, take a look at those streams. But I'll have sort of a wrap-up video that's shorter than those 3 2-hour streams to sort of tie that up in a bow. All right, I think that's it for tonight. Thanks again, everybody. Maintain your groovy selves. Hold up. I am having some issues. Why is that not working? Oh, I know why. That was dumb of me. Sorry. I know how to fix it. Just a second. It was working all along. I'm just messing up. All right, let's try that one more time. Now I will say again, maintain your groovy selves.